Okay. Are we all set?
Okay, Chairwoman, you may bring the meeting to order and ask for the roll call.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this. Good evening, shall I say, 6 o'clock. Thank you all for being on, and I would like to turn it over and have a roll call done at this time.
Chairwoman Ray,
Present.
Vice Chairwoman DeRita,
Present.
Mr. Cohen, Mr. Cohen is present. Ms. D,
Here.
Mr. Fontaine. Mr. Fontaine is absent. Mr. Rankin? Mr. Rankin is absent. Ms. Swearingen?
Here.
Ms. Falaby?
Present.
I say it wrong. I'm sorry. 6 present and 2 absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to start, Mr. Selleck, Mr. Sean, could you bring up the agenda? Oh, I can't hear you.
I sure can. Let me share that real quick.
Thank you.
Can you see that fine?
Yes, I do. Thank you so very much. Madam Clerk, would you please read the first item on the agenda?
Discussion regarding the hiring status of an executive director.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, our chairperson, Mr. Fontaine, was not able to be here today. He did forward some information through Susan to me, so I will give you an update at this time. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, and I will make sure it gets back to the hiring committee. As you know, the hiring committee exists of 3 people: Mr. Fontaine, who is the chair, Mr. Batiste Rankin, and myself, Deborah L. Ray. First and foremost, we want to let you know that letters to be sent out to the applicants that have applied that are the ones that we are not accepting. We have 4 interviews coming up, and the last but not least, we're going to make sure we're giving all of them the same questionnaire. So each applicant will have the same question, so it won't be different questions. So anybody have any objections, any questions to what I just said? I can't hear anybody. Okay, Miss Elise, do you have any questions?
So when you have those 4 top candidates and the questions does the board have an opportunity to assist with those questions, crafting those questions, or is it just the hiring committee?
Okay, you can refer questions to the board, to the hiring committee, and that will go directly to the chairperson, and then we will take that under these consideration.
Okay.
But what I want to express and make sure we all understand, whatever questions that we ask them will be the same for everybody, nothing different.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask if the board has, if there's a plan for participation with the board and or with the community to interview the final candidates or even the top 4. Like, do you have that process laid out yet?
We have not discussed that process, but we will be doing that. We will have that discussion.
Okay.
So again, you can also submit that question, and then the hiring committee will respond back to you.
Okay.
Anyway, All right. Mr. Reed, do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you. Ms. Dye, you have any questions or comment?
Ms. D does not have any questions or comments.
I'm so sorry, Miss D. I practice it. I still call you Miss Dye. I apologize. Thank you so much. Oh, Jesus. I'll get better, I promise. Thank you. Thank you, Miss D. Mr. Cohen,
No questions.
do you have any questions or comments, sir?
No questions, no.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to say Miss P. Do you have any questions?
No, I do have just one question. What's the time frame for hiring? Do we have a time frame that we want to get? I know as soon as possible, but not sure if we have a time frame in mind.
Okay, basically we started out with a similar time frame because we put it out and it was closed as of March the 5th, meaning that we could not accept any more applications in regards to the executive session. The next step was to make sure that we read every application, go over it, everyone, all of them that we received, and then break it down to the ones we will accept and bring forth to the board or the public. That's how I'll say that. After that, then it will be presented to the board. So basically, I don't have a specific timeline, so I won't say it'll be May or June, but it may be sooner than you think because it is necessary to get our information that was left behind, so that information could be passed on to the new executive director, and our board, because we and further things on the agenda is definitely necessary, and we want the new executive director to be a part of it as well. Did I make myself clear, or did I make you not understand what I'm saying?
No, I'm
Ms.
clear.
P?
No, I'm clear.
Okay, thank you so very much. All right, thank you. Did I miss anybody?
Sorry, Chairwoman Ray, we have 2 hands raised in the guests and the attendees. So I didn't know if we wanted to, I'm assuming they're pertaining to this conversation. So
Pertaining to this conversation.
like about the hiring process. And so I didn't know if you wanted to.
Excuse me?
There are 2 people who are looking to ask questions, and I didn't know if we wanted to bring them in now or if you wanted to wait till I just didn't know what you wanted to do.
Well, I want to follow procedure. And the former procedure is it was always done at the end. So I don't want to change anything. But if the board does not have any objection, so I will ask, does anybody else object?
No.
I hear silence, please, because I can't see your hands or anything else. You have to speak up for me. Thank you so much. All right, Sean, am I out of order if I have these 2 people with their hand raised in regards to this question only? And this is the only question I would ask. They'd be able to ask me at this time? All right, will you please open it up for them?
Yeah. Absolutely. Right now you have Justice Gaines. I will promote Justice to a panelist. 1 month.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for letting us speak. My question was just with the 4 finalists that you all have chosen, have those 4 finalists already been notified, and like, are those interviews already scheduled, or are they going to be notified at the same time the letters go out? And also would just amplify or elevate Ms. Warrington's idea to have community input in some way, maybe on the finalist.
Okay. I'm not able now, I'm not able right now to answer that question because I'm not the chair. And we did not discuss it that way. But again, in you asking this question, it would be brought back to the committee and then it would be put out there. So again, those questions, as Elise said it, as you are saying it in regards to the public, in regards to the board, we will follow the necessary law that is the proper procedure in order to do that. I hope I answered your question. I don't want to put words, I don't want to say anything that's incorrect, and I don't want to assume that this is how to do it when I'm breaking the law, if you understand what I'm saying, Justice.
Yeah, thank you. And just to
Can you hear
clarify, yeah, I did. And just to clarify, I just wanted to clarify for the first part of that question around like whether the 4 finalists were notified yet, if that's also something you can't answer right now. And I totally understand if you can't.
Okay, I can't, I'm so sorry. I could not answer that right now. I did not speak to Mr. Fontaine directly. And I don't remember him relaying that to me in prior conversation. So I don't have the answer to that right now. I'm sorry about that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question. Next.
I do not see anyone else who is currently with their hand raised at this moment, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Elise, Elise, you said it was 2 people?
It was, Ray Watson
All right,
had
did
his
you know-
hand raised and now he doesn't. So it's
Perfectly fine. Okay, thank you very much. We will go back into our meeting and discussion. Thank you, everybody. Madam, I want to say young lady, so sorry. Will the clerk please read the second thing on the agenda?
Discussion regarding professional development for authority members through NACO.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm turning that over to Susan Rita. Ms. Sue, please take it from here.
Thank you. So on April 7th, a meeting was held. Ms. Ray was not able to attend, so I did attend. It was also attended by Councilwoman Harris, Sean Bouchard, who works on policy in the City Council office, Jim Lombardi, who is the interim chief of staff, and Cameron McElhaney, who is the director of training and education at NACO. So NACO was contacted by the council to see what trainings would be appropriate for us as well as the council. And they did submit a proposal with different topics, which would be a total of 8 hours broken down into 4 2-hour sessions covering an array of topics, which has not been approved. We just got this proposal a couple of days ago. So we need to review it to see if those are indeed topics that we think we should be addressing. There was a lot of questions that came up during the conversation and to prepare for the proposal, focusing on actually what is the obligations or responsibilities of an independent oversight committee. So this training, I think, will clarify a lot of the questions that a lot of people on the council and on the board might have. Also discussing, purposes of mediation versus investigation. So there's a lot of different things that we're going to be looking into. So it's right now, it's just in the proposal phase. And it's not something that we have scheduled for a date yet. We're going to try to schedule it on a date that's going to be convenient for everybody. If anybody has any questions. No questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rita. I don't have a question, I just have a statement. I was spoken to today by Ms. Mary Kay, and she said that process is going to happen very shortly, and we will notify each and every member of the board as well as the city council, because it is going to be a together thing. So if anybody got any side statements, any questions while we're doing it, this is the opportunity today to please speak on it. I think it's necessary. I mean, we all have our different opinions, but we need to follow the right protocol all the way through. But if no one has any objections and they're willing to participate, please let us know right away. I mean, I think it's fully necessary. That's my opinion. I feel as though each and every board member should be on the same page, as make sure that we all have this training together. So do I have any other questions, any statements, any comments? Please feel free to speak on it. Okay, here is silence. I guess it's okay. I'm going to move on to the our next item on the agenda, number 3.
Discussion regarding the gang list report.
I'm also going to turn that back over to Sunita. My justification on this is why I'm bringing it back up, because we meeting the board. After our last meeting, Susan was questioned by a reporter. So that's about as much I'm going to say. So I'm going to turn that over back to Susan. Susan?
Right, at our last meeting, there was a question as to the annual reporting of this. That's what brought up the whole discussion last time. But some did question what happens to names that were previously on that list. And I read for you verbatim the response that I got from Colonel Hugh Clements. The intelligence assessment database is currently inactive and has not been used for intelligence purposes since July 19th, 2019, the date the prior version of General Order 360.10 was rescinded. This status will remain until such time when the operating system can be updated to reflect the criteria contained in the current General Order 360.10 that was reissued on February 11th, 2020. Any data that had been included as of July 19th, 2019, and that remains is considered outdated intelligence due to the changes to the exclusionary criteria as is reflected in the reissued General Order, and therefore has not been used for intelligence purposes or as an investigatory tool related to gangs. When the department is able to update the operating software to reflect the new criteria, the data included will be reevaluated to determine if it is appropriate for inclusion in the new database based on the new criteria. The police department is actively working to get the software updated in the near future. To reiterate, any intelligence information or individuals contained in the inactive database do not reflect individuals that the Providence Police Department currently identifies as active members of any gang. And I hope that answers the question.
Does anybody from the board have any questions for Sue?
I have questions, not for, I don't think
Okay.
Susan can answer them, but like that's my, I don't know if that's, I just have a lot of questions. Like, is there a different list because this software is out of date? Like, is there something that is being referenced? There's just a lot of like missing. I understand the statement and I appreciate that, Susan, but it's just in general, I have a lot of questions as to, so your old phone's broken, so you can't reference the phone numbers, but you still know that those people were your contacts. If that's an analogy. I just, that's where my question is. And so just if this gang list doesn't exist because the criteria is out of date and the software is out of date, but we're going to create another one, that's what I'm just trying to figure out, but sorry.
Yeah, I mean, just what I'm just getting from, what I read is that,
Yeah, you're reading a statement. So I understand you can't answer that question.
Yeah, it's going to compare it against the new criteria to see if it carries over.
Right.
Other than that, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Captain
Elise,
in the.
that's what I was just going to say. I was going to say Captain Remolina's got his hand up. He probably can answer some of the questions that you have.
If that's okay, Chairwoman.
Oh, okay. Before I go to the captain for him to answer that question, I'm going to say, Elise, I also kind of agree with what you just said. We was not talking about the current database. We were talking about the past database.
Oh,
And Perry
database.
said there was no database.
Right.
So I'm just asking when at that meeting, if I stand to be corrected, please correct me. It was asked what happened, what is going to happen to those names. I do believe that the reporter was asking the same thing. If I'm wrong in that, Susan, then you have to correct me. But that is the question that was in my mind. Now, what they plan on doing in the future, that's all well and fine, and we'll deal with that. But the question from the beginning was the names of the people that was on that data game base. What happened to it? If it no longer existed, what happened to those names? That was a simple question. Now, I will now, if no one other board member has anything else to say on this matter, and I will give it time, and then I'll turn it over to Captain R. Sorry. I apologize for not saying it incorrectly, sir. But does anybody else have any other comments or statements?
Yeah, I have a comment, Tanita.
Okay, please, Ms. P.
Yeah, I want to know, just like Elise, is there, what happened to the old gang database, and is there a new gang database? Is there a gang database? Period. I mean, the statement was like confusing to me. So I just want clarity.
Okay, thank you, Panita, and I think I believe his first name is Henry, if I'm correct, will answer that question when he get an opportunity. Is there anybody else who have any other comments or statements before I turn it over to this gentleman?
I have a few, but I want to wait to hear what you said
go ahead.
first before I say something.
Okay, fine, that's fine. Mr. Sean, can you please at this time turn it over, as you said, Mr. Henry R. had his hand raised. Maybe he can answer the question, please.
The captain has been promoted and can unmute and put on the camera if desired.
Good evening. So
good evening.
First and foremost, I wanted to let you know that if you do have further questions, by all means, you can email them to me and I'll make sure to get you further clarification. But if you look at the statement, and I know it's a lengthy statement, and if you don't have it in front of you, you may lose some of the information. But I think this answers your question, that any data that has been included, so the names would be data as of July 19, 2019, that remains, is considered outdated intelligence due to the changes in the inclusionary criteria as it is reflected by the general order. It has not been used for intelligence purpose or as an investigatory tool related to gangs. And that later on, he goes to say, when the department is able to update the operating software to reflect the new criteria, the data included will be re-evaluated to determine if it's appropriate. So I don't know if that answers your question, but if you have further questions or you like further clarification, I can definitely look to getting you those answers. But in terms, is there another gang database? No, we are not operating a new or some other version of a gang database.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Kendai, the captain has already spoken. You said you wanted some, you may have questions now. Do you still do?
Yeah. So my question,
D.
Yes. My question is that if this previous first gang database is inactive, considered essentially useless in terms of using it to identify anyone, why is there a need to transfer or update any of this information to include it in some so-called second one? I don't understand why there needs to be some sort of improvement or recall. I feel like those names should just automatically be rescinded or removed or deleted entirely from any sort of gang database. There shouldn't be a second one in the first place. what is this second one used for? And can you highlight that criteria for the audience members?
The criteria would be from the general, from the city ordinance that was passed. But the idea is that if we do go back and we update the software to be in compliance with the city ordinance, then at that time the data will be reevaluated. But that's the statement that the colonel put out. So I don't know if that clarifies whether the data should all be dumped. I guess that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Dumping all data and then starting new. I don't know if that's an option or if that's something we would do, as long as the new version of this would be in compliance with the city ordinance. But I can ask the colonel your question as to why isn't the current data that's in the existing system dumped out? Is that the question? I don't want to.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to echo that. Yes, that is the question.
Thank you very much, Captain, and members of the PERA board. Does anybody else have any questions or comments at this time?
I do see some members in the audience who are very eager to ask questions, I'm sure.
Mr. Sean, can we have that at this time?
Yes, at the top of the list, I have Raymond Watson, who has been promoted to a panelist and may unmute and turn on camera if desired.
Hello, board. It's me. I'm back again. In my regular fashion, disappointed as ever to see that sort of response was accepted from the Providence Police Department with no questions asked and then eagerly handed over to the board as if they answered the question is just a further example of all of the problems going on with this board. I'm even more amazed that Mr. Fontaine, the same legal mind that could not give you advice to put particular language into the initial PERA ordinance, who has now gotten you all sued for what you all did to Mr. Batista, is now the chair. I'm absolutely amazed. I'm absolutely amazed. And I just don't understand what's going on here. You haven't had a director in 5 months because you fired him with no plan on how to replace him. Now you've got a committee set up being headed up by Michael Fontaine again, who doesn't even have a plan of action on how he's going to engage the community, but has already developed questions to ask people. It's embarrassing. I'll be very honest. You all should be very embarrassed of yourselves. And I'm going to tell you right now, you know, the law is not something to play with. When he does discovery and asks for all of the individual emails that went back and forth between you all regarding his position, regarding the decision to not release the footage of which the gentleman was found guilty, I'd like to highlight that you didn't release footage to an officer who was found guilty. It's embarrassing. That's what I came on here to say. It seems like the embarrassment is going to continue. My eyes are still watching. I'll be back.
First and foremost, I want to say we appreciate your comment and how you feel. And you have the right to your opinion. As far as now, right now, the only thing that we're talking about and discussing is the gang database. But since you have said what you said, we will listen to what you say as well and take that into consideration. I hope you continue to follow us through and continue to speak your mind. Thank you, sir. Next person, please.
Justice Gaines is being promoted to panelist again and may unmute and turn on the camera.
Hey all.
Go ahead, Mr. Gaines.
Hi, it's Justice again. So I had a question. I think it will go to the captain if that's okay, or it's more of a comment actually. Kind of reflecting what Miss D and what Miss Swearington said, I think it'd be legally dubious to try to grandfather any names in from the last gang list into any sort of new gang list, considering that gang list was deemed unlawful by the court. So by by actually using any sort of leftover list to work your new things against, you're violating folks' due process rights. And we will sue you again if you do that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Justice. I appreciate your comment. And also we'll take what you say under these considerations, because you're not alone in what you're saying. That's all I can say at this time. Is there anybody else that would like to speak?
Shauna,
I'm promoting Shauna Kurland, and Shauna may unmute and turn on the camera if desired.
Yes, Ms. Kerr.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to add a few comments on the discussion on the gang database or intelligence database. Some things we kind of figured out during the process of the lawsuit that might help either answer some of those questions or kind of lead to some new areas you want to keep in mind and follow up on. I think the issue with people, the problem they're having, it's not actually just a software problem. I mean, you know, you can adapt the fields on a database without too much trouble. It's the fact that now, given the way the law is now, they can't really legally add people to the database the way they're used to doing it. It turned out when we looked at the different versions of the policy that they came up with, it was very hard. And just even during the negotiations to figure out a way to identify people that wouldn't violate the law that says you can't use association. So I think that's part of what's been holding it up more than adjusting the database itself, is figuring out how they can actually include somebody on the database where they feel like it's valuable in an investigative sense, but it's also legal and doesn't violate those rights that we went to court about. So that's probably the holdup. There's a couple sort of follow-up areas that might be useful. It's really good to hear from Captain Remolina that they are acknowledging now that the people that were on the database before do not qualify to be called gang members formally by the Providence police currently. Earlier, and I want to say a year ago, I might be off, when we would help folks send in an inquiry, as is now allowed under the law, they would just get a letter back from Major Perez that said, well, we don't currently have a database, so therefore you're not on it. Instead of like, no, don't worry, we don't consider you a gang member. And, you know, if you're trying to deal with immigration, for instance, or, you know, a job, any number of things, that's not necessarily a helpful letter. So it's really great to hear that. And hopefully now when folks do inquiries, they'll get a letter that says, no, you are not included in any gang database or anything like that. The other area maybe to keep an eye on is just to confirm in terms of if that old information did go to the state at some point, not really BCI, but we're pretty sure that it's shared with the Fusion Center. That can be a concern because that gets shared with immigration, with ICE in particular. And potentially, you know, the AGs, whether or not they use it in court, but oh, so-and-so is a gang member. 15 years ago, they were considered one, maybe, who knows? So that would be an area of concern, might be worth some follow-up, is just to confirm that the state police and the Fusion Center and whoever they share information with gets a confirmation that those names are no longer considered gang members by Providence police. And last thing, what Ms. D brought up around where do the old names get stored? So I think there's always, given the history here, it's always good to check if there's a non-electronic systems where they get stored. You know, we remember the old notebooks in the car dashboard, in the car glove compartments, for instance. And I'd actually, as much as you want to eliminate it, you might want to think about when's the right time to completely destroy every copy. You could imagine a scenario where the person who was named might want to go back and see if they were added to the gang database at some point in history. So I don't know how you handle that with, you know, both their privacy and respecting, you know, that there are questions and concerns about how it was done versus if they want that information themselves for some reason. So that might be something to think through. Yep, and I think that was all the points I wanted to add. But we can follow up with Captain Remolina too, and just make sure that when folks do send in inquiry letters, that there's a way for them to get a helpful letter back to them. So that's really good to hear.
Thank you. Thank you, Shauna. We will also take that under consideration. We will listen and follow through as much as we possibly can. That's what I can say at this time, but thank you for the information. We truly appreciate it. Mr. Sean, is there anybody else at this have something to speak on at this time?
There are not any there are no other attendees with their hand raised at this time.
Okay, thank you all attendees. We'll go back to the agenda. And the last thing on the agenda is item number 4. Everybody did see what it is and what we're going to be talking about. So I believe we're supposed to be going into executive session. Am I not correct?
Ms. Ray?
I'm sorry.
Before you guys move on, can you just reflect for the record that Mr. Fontaine is here now?
Hey, I am here.
Oh, okay.
Having tech troubles, but you don't see anything on me, but I am here.
So noted.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I just can't see you on my little tablet.
Yeah,
so I apologize
I'm
for
having
that,
some camera and even photo issues, so I'll try to correct that. But I am here.
Okay, thank you so very much. Is it anything else before we go into executive session? Any other comment? Any other statement? Board members, Mr. Cohen?
No, we're all
Okay, he
set.
must be-
No, we're all set.
We're all set.
Someone needs
Okay.
to make a motion to go into executive session.
Well, that is what I was going to ask for. Would somebody please, of the board members, make a motion to go to do the next step, the next process? That would be.
Motion for
I'm
executive
sorry.
session.
Go ahead.
Motion to go into executive session.
I second.
Motion made by Mr. Mike Fontaine. Second by who?
Sunita.
Panita. All in
Yes.
favor?
Aye.
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 All in favor? Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, Sean, we will now
Actually,
go
we
into.
prefer, the clerk's office prefers actually that we would take a roll call vote to enter into executive session. So if I could ask the assistant clerk to please do that.
Chairwoman Ray,
Thank you very much, Sean. Yeah, present.
Vice Chairwoman Dorita,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. D,
Yes.
Mr. Fontaine,
Yes.
Mr. Rankin is absent. Ms. Swearingen
Yes.
and Ms. Feebelay.
Yes.
You have 7 ayes and 1 absent. You have established to go into executive session.
Thank you. So if everyone could please log off of this meeting completely and go into the link that was provided for the members in the other in the executive session, and I will see you over there.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll go up here. Having trouble, hold on. Having trouble. Okay, there it is. Off.
Thank you. See you shortly, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Nope, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I keep hitting the wrong buttons or the right buttons or something. Come on, sweetie, go back. Thank you. Why is it taking me out of there?
You just have to leave this meeting and then join the other one after you leave the meeting. I could also
Correct.
help
And
you
so
out
that
if you
means
want.
when I put, yeah, please, because I pressed the leave button and it brought me back to you. Hold on.
Okay, I'll help you remove, and then you can find the other link. We'll see you on the other side.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Actually, no. If I do that, it might give you trouble getting back on. So I don't want to do that. If you just click on the screen, hopefully there's a red button.
Yeah, it says leave, LEAVE. So I'm hitting that now.
Yep.
I
Yes.
hit it. Oh, wait, I hit
Chairwoman Ray, could you please unmute yourself, and then you can ask the clerk for roll call vote to exit executive session, if you can hear me.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
We sure can.
Okay, I can't see anybody, but I can hear you right now. I would like to go back into executive session. Madam Clerk, could you call a roll call, please?
Could you please ask for a motion from one of your board members to exit executive session?
I'm so sorry. Yes, please forgive me. May I have a motion from someone from the board?
I make
Motion
the
to leave.
motion.
There you go.
We have a motion made by Fontaine. We have a second by who?
I'll second it. We'll let Mike make the
Okay, Mr.
motion.
Cohen. All in favor?
Aye.
I need a roll call vote, please.
Chairwoman
Madam
Ray.
Clerk, please.
Chairwoman Ray.
Yes.
Vice Chairwoman Dorita.
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Ms. D.
Yes.
Mr. Fontaine.
Yes.
Mr. Rankin is absent. Ms. Swearingen.
Yes.
Ms. Philibay. You have 7 ayes and 1 absent. You are out of executive session.
Thank you
And
so very
Chairwoman
much.
Ray, could you please ask for a motion to seal the minutes of the executive session? And that can just be a voice vote. Can you ask for that
Okay.
motion, please?
May I have a motion from someone from the board?
I make the motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? So sealed. Hi, your microphone is unmuted. Okay, hi. All right. If there's nothing else, we have all followed the procedure of the agenda. So I would like to have a motion to,
Adjourn?
Sean, I would like to have a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Sean.
Motion to adjourn.
So seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all very much. Y'all have a wonderful and blessed day and continue to be safe. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you.
Hi, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.